Thank you again to all the parents and students who came to our open evening yesterday. It was fantastic to meet so many of you and to see you in helping your child's GCSE exams, maths and sciences in 2026. For those who missed the opportunity yesterday, and even for those who asked for a quick recap, I'm quickly going to run through some of these points about how we do these past paper classes. Now, first of all, I'd like to quickly show you a few things about myself. For those who don't know me, I am Madhushankar. I'm a UK qualified teacher and a GCSE examiner with 22 years of experience. My first degree is in science, and then master's degree is in education from Brunel University in Uxbridge. And I've been teaching for the past 14 years in UK, about a couple of years in central London in Whitechapel, and then the remaining years in Harrow. So let's have a look at this. So what are you really up against? Let's start with maths. In maths, you have three papers. Paper 1, Paper 2, Paper 3. The first one is non-calculator, and the other two are calculator. Now, in total, you have 240 marks, 8 times 3. Now, let's do a quick reality check to see where we stand and how things have changed in the past couple of years. Now, here, you can see the grade boundaries from 2022, 2023, and 2024. Now, I'm just really breaking it down simply here. The GCSE grades go from 1 to 9. So the highest possible grade is 9. Now, in the past years, on average, I've calculated the mean at the bottom here. Students needed about 198 marks out of 240 to get a level 9. 168 out of 240 to get a level 8, 140 out of 240 to get a level 7, and so on and so forth. This is up to 2024. Let's have a look at what happened in 2025. Now, this year, it was a bit of a surprise because, look at this. The grade boundary to get a level 9 was actually 217, which is a big jump from what it was last year. There could be multiple reasons for this, including how students face the exam, which can also inflate the grade boundaries and all that. But it was significantly higher than it was all these years. I mean, if you go back quickly, you can see 197, 203, 194, and all of a sudden 270. Let's look at some more data. In 2023, 54% of the students got less than a 5. So, like I said, 1 to 9. So minimum pass would be like a 4. So more than half got less than 5. So that is quite alarming. Only about 4% get the top grade 9. I mentioned this earlier. Look at some of the things from BBC. You can see record numbers of GCSE students were resits, right? That's because they didn't get what they needed to get. And also, here's another one from BBC again in 2024 January. And look at sciences. Sciences are not too different either. So if you look at here, 33% of the students last year, not last year, this year, 2025, did not pass sciences, unfortunately. And those 1 to 9 thing, I said like the highest 3 grades, 7 to 9, only 21.7% got that. So that's, relatively low. Every year, over half of students fall below grade 5 on average in these two subjects. The problem is why? Is it because they don't know the content? More than that, right? It's because they haven't been shown how to tackle exam questions. Now, this is the big problem. So I asked this question from the student yesterday, those who were there. So how many of you feel you'd do better if you understood what examiners are really looking for? And almost everybody agreed with this. So, which makes sense because if the student knows what to write or what the examiner is exactly expecting, have a good sense of that, that would definitely maximize the chance of getting higher marks. In my personal experience, these are the main reasons why students lose marks. Rushing questions. This is a classic one. Say in GCSE maths, let's say there are 22, 23 questions. The first 15, 16 questions are relatively easy. And then they get slightly harder, right? This is an exam. So what do students do? They rush through all of the easy questions thinking I'm going to save my time, which looks like a sensible thing. But the problem is this. They rush through all the easy ones and make mistakes there. Then the hard ones at the end, they spend more time, but they are hard. So they make mistakes across the whole paper. So that is a bad strategy, right? I'll tell you the solution to that, but that's one of the problems. Misreading the questions, that's another really common one. Say if there was a question and the question said, give your answer to 3 decimal places, 2 decimal places, something like that. And the students just write the whole thing on the calculator to 7, 8 decimal places. No, that will be a mistake. They will not get full marks. Not showing working, that's another problem. Say it's a 5-mark question and there are multiple steps in calculation. So if they don't show all the steps, they may not get full marks. More than that, they lose their opportunity to get a partial mark. Now let's say the question is 5 marks. The student has done first 3 steps right, then made a mistake in the last 2. So what will happen? The student can get 3 out of 5, which is not ideal, but that's okay. But if the student has done the working elsewhere on their head, on the calculator or something, and then just put the final answer and that is wrong, what is that student going to get? 0. Now, getting 3 out of 5 is so much better than getting nothing. So, losing accuracy in multi-step problems is also related to this. So, in physics, you can see these questions a lot, chemistry sometimes, and also in maths as well. So, there are multi-step problems, and then they make some sort of a mistake early on, and that will affect the other answer. There is a thing called ECF, error carried forward. So they'll get some marks for doing that, but this could be a big problem as well. Next one, being weak on certain topics. Now, there are certain topics that students usually struggle with, like algebra, ratios, vectors, surds in maths, and in physics, probably electricity, radioactivity, waves calculations, and in chemistry, it's quantitative chemistry, mole calculations, so all that stuff, and electrolysis in chemistry, and maybe genetics in biology and evolution in biology. So there are some topics that students usually struggle with. The power of past papers. So our method is learn by doing. Now, students usually have a different approach to this, doing past papers, when they try to do this on their own. So what they think is, I'm going to study my theory, be really good with my theory, and when I'm ready, I will do the past papers, because partly they are scared to see what will happen if I do the paper now. If I do a past paper, full paper in October or November next month, what will I get? They're scared to see a low mark. So what do? They keep on procrastinating it as much as they can. So the problem with that is, the first thing, things do not always go the way students planned, right? So what happens is they keep on revising, and even by next year, most people will not be in a position, they'll be like, yes, I've revised everything about this subject. Now all that is left for me to do is just past papers. That is very unlikely. So what usually happens, people who go down that path, is around maybe April next year, they'll be like, oh, I really don't feel confident at this point, but I don't have time now. Exams are starting in about a month and a half. So I have to do the past papers anyway. And the schools have been handing out past papers at this point. So what do? They just start doing papers anyway. And then they get the same thing in maths, and they do the same thing in science and English and all other subjects. So they have limited time, more stress, and they have to compromise them because they don't have enough time. What do? They say like, I might be able to do 5 past papers from each subject or something. So that is not a good idea. So my suggestion is to do as many papers as possible, obviously, but at least this is what I did with my students last year. My math students did 30 papers. Science students, depends on the exam board, but they did on average around 20 full past papers. Now, I can show you the one of the sets of the books that I've given to my students last year. Here, you can see how thick it is. I think this is 768 pages because I told that the number to my printing guy. So here you can see book 1, and you can see it goes from paper 1 all the way down to paper 30. So I couldn't get them all the 30 papers in one, so I had to get it like that. So what do? students get this in post. So if the student is doing science as well, then they'll get a separate one for science. So, this is a different, this exam board, but your child will get whatever you need for that exam. So maths here, science here. So usually a child gets all of this in post. Now, how do we do this? So I get the question on the board and the student have the printed papers, and we do this under timed conditions. So let me show you how this kind of looks like. So the first paper we do is this maths paper from 2017. Now, we'll go to question number 1, and I will run a timer on the board. Now, let's say 3 minutes for the first question, and I'll set the timer, start. And the student now, they do the question under timed conditions. So when the time is up, they stop, then I start to explain the question. Now, there is another thing that I tell my students. This is from actually last year. You can see the last year's. This was started in October 2024, exactly a year ago. So I told the students they don't need to do any questions before the session. So you don't do this in your own time at home. We will do them in class under timed conditions. That's a D, by the way, timed conditions. Now, black or blue for normal writing, and they need to have a purple pen for marking, and they need to have a green pen for corrections. So this is my writing from the last year, by the way. So you can see I have done these questions. See, that's all. I do it right in front of the students so they can see, and also I think out loud so they can hear what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking about it. So I'm giving all of these things so that they know how to approach a question. Now, if the student got the question right, they can easily just put a tick and that's it, and then see whatever the marks they deserve. If they made a mistake, what they need to do is they need to use the green pen and do the corrections. Now, let's say, for example, this blue writing is the student's writing. If the student got some of this right, but there's some corrections to do, the student will take a green pen and do the, the correct writing. I'm just writing some, just copying this one really. So, just do the corrections here, right? And then use the purple pen to tick what was done and cross what was not right. Let's say if the student's maths exam is tomorrow, what the student should do is take the paper and then just look through it. Okay, how did I do this last year? Right, I got this right. Okay, oh, there's some green writing here. That means I made a mistake. So I didn't get it right, but sir helped me. And the student just looks through it, which gives a really good idea. But oh, I made this mistake, so I'm not going to do this tomorrow. So that is how they improve. So that's how we use the papers. Also, you can see at the top of every question, there is a number, MW150. That's Maths Watch 150. And here, Maths Watch 159. Here, Maths Watch 62. So what it is, this is another platform that I use. It's called Maths Watch. Some of the schools, if they use Sparks Maths or Hegarty Maths or Dr. Frost, so this is another one like that. And I can provide an account to the students. Now, it looks something like this. So you can see the videos here, and these are very helpful. Now, let's say if a student got this question wrong, the equation of a line L1, this question, if the student made a mistake, now I have given them what the Maths Watch clip number is. So all they need to do is I will make an account for them. For each one, I'll make an account on Maths Watch. They just need to go there and search 159. And here you can see equation of a straight line. Here, there are two short videos. It's about a couple of minutes, I think. Yeah, 8 minutes, this one. And the student can actually watch this. Here's the next question. This is about mean mark, and that's Maths Watch 62. Now, if the student got it wrong, all that student needs to do is go to 62 and then click on this, and you can see averages and range, right? And there's a video that explains how it is done. Not only that, there are interactive questions where the student can actually do these questions, and the system marks it for them. So let's say they go to question number 1, they can write the correct answer, and then submit the answer, and it will mark it. This way, the student can do the questions with me, and I will tell them for each one what method or clip number it is. And if they made a mistake, they know exactly how to revise it. Let's look at this as an example. Say the first week, Sunday, they do the maths paper. And let's say the student got 65%. Now, that means the student lost marks on 35%. So this could be from 5 different topics or maybe more. Let's say 5, for example. Now, what the student needs to do is go home and revise topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, topic 4, topic 5 before the student attempts the second paper. Now, a week later, the student comes to the class and then we do the paper. Now, the student might this time get 68%, right? A little bit more marks. So the student has still lost 32%. Now, that could be, I don't know, for some other topics. It may not be, because every year they don't get the same topics. It could be some different topics as well. But there's something else that the student needs to know. What does the student need to do? Go home, use Maths Watch, or you can, if they are with their classes with me, I can help them with this as well. Revise these things, all of these. Now, next week, student might get 72%. Next week, the student might get 74%. So it may not be an exact straight line up like that, but the point is, say the student starts in October 2025 from whatever the number of marks. The number of marks that the student gets this way will be, a bit more. I mean, it won't be like a nice straight line, but overall, it will go up. So what will happen is, the student will get more marks over time. Maybe the person starts with 65%, and by June next year, this person could be on 80% or 85% even, something like that. So that's how this system can help students to identify their weaknesses, work exactly on them, and improve in the subject. Now, what many students do is they do this sort of blanket revision. So what they do, they just, I'm going to do some maths revision, pick a random topic, work on it. Then tomorrow, something else, work on it. Something else, that looks a little hard. I'm not going to do that, do the easy one. Now that, compared to this method, you can see how wrong that one is, right? Because this exactly targets what they don't know, and they know exactly where they are losing marks, and they're not making that mistake next week. So that means every time they do this, learn this, they're getting more and more and more marks. So that's how it works. So learn from mistakes. There's another thing I need to show. This was one of the past papers. I don't exactly remember the year, but the first 15 questions that are highlighted in green are relatively easy. So they can get most of the marks from those questions. So my suggestion to the students is get as many marks as possible from these. You should get almost 100% of those marks because it's easy. And now look at the grades. So if the student can do up to question number 13 and get everything right, that itself is a grade 7. Right? If the student can do in this year up to question number 16, 17, that is a level 8. Remember the stat I showed earlier, only 21% of the student population get it above 7, right? So very little students actually get to this point, but it's actually, if they follow the technique, it's really, really easy. Now, next thing is about the type of question. So not all questions are the same. So there are some recall type questions that are the easy wins. So, the things that come up every year, they're like very, structured questions, and you see these things every year. Then you have the application and problem solving questions, the level up ones, where it's not just recall, but they need to be able to apply the theory, like in a slightly unfamiliar scenario. Now here you can see a set of questions from past papers. This is 2008 question. This was 2012 question, and look at the 2017. If the student obviously had done these questions, or there were many more actually, obviously that question will be really easy. Here's another one. This is from 2012. This question is from 2013. Look at the 2016 question. If the student had done enough questions, practice questions, that is a cinch, obviously. Why? Because they don't change. But you know, those level up questions I talked about, that those questions are usually important to get to level 8 and level 9. Let me show you an example of that here. That's my working out for one of the questions. So you can see it's a bit complicated question with some trigonometry and also area of a circle and all that. Here you can see another question like that. Now, again, half AB sine C, area of a triangle. It's a slightly tricky question. Now, these type of questions are different from the questions that's been repeating. This is the only question that looks like it. This is the only question that looks like this question. So they have to think in the exam to do that. Here's another one. See, you can see obviously from the amount of work, it's a slightly tricky question. Here's the working out, by the way. It has quadratic factorization and, you know, area of a circle and all that stuff, right? So those questions are really good questions. So, but you get these questions only sort of towards the end of the paper, right? Now, so that's the process of how it works. And I just need to quickly show you some success stories from 2025. So you can see the students have taken the names off, by the way. So, you know, 9 for maths, biology, chemistry, physics. And here's another student, summer 2025, 8 for maths, 8, 7, 8 for sciences, 9 for all science subjects, 9, 9 in combined and 8 in maths, another student, and 8, 8, 7, 7, and 9 for chemistry and 8 for biology. Right? They're done pretty well. And this one is actually an interesting one that I'd like to show. Now, this particular student did really well, right? But there's something interesting I need to show you. I taught these students only science. I mean, he was in the science past paper class. Maths, he did it on his own. The interesting thing I need to show here is look at the grades. Overall, he did really well. 8, 8, 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6. They're all pretty good. But the only 3 9s he got were for biology, chemistry, and physics. Obviously, that the past papers he did, the things he practiced must have something to do with it. I'm pretty sure that they did, right? So things like that are some proof to how it works. Now, when are these sessions? This is the other question that parents needed to know. So GCSE maths classes are always on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. And the science classes, I have 4 different classes. I have lessons for, these are all higher tier, by the way. AQA combined Saturday 5 to 6:30, AQA triple Friday 7:30 to 9, EdXL triple Saturday 10 to 11:30, and EdXL combined science Wednesday 6 to 7:30 p.m. These are the lesson times. And how do you join? So first you need to choose your subject, GCSE maths, combined science, or both. Then you can send me a message on my WhatsApp, which is number is here, 075 747 28677, or you can email to this. I didn't put my official email here because I get a lot of my students' other emails and homework and all that, so I don't want to miss anything. Now, if you want to know about the fee structure, I already explained this in the session yesterday, but please give me a call and I can explain how it works. So I'm really looking forward to helping your child to build that skills to help their GCSE maths and sciences. And that's it for today. And I'll hope to see them in the class soon.